Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate, our source of local journalism here in the Lafayette area. We are glad to bring you this community service every Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 and 10 a.m. And then, of course, replays on Cypress Street Radio at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. You can catch us on AOC One. You can catch us on AOC Community Media's YouTube page. Just search AOC Community Media on YouTube. And, of course, you can catch us in audio-only format on Cypress Street Radio. If you search for Cypress Street Radio, you will find us there, and you can listen to this news program as well as a few of our local podcasters and radio show producers who are producing content. We could not bring you this content every morning without the generous gift of time and effort from our volunteer news readers, and this morning we are grateful to be joined by Susan Richard. Good morning, Susan.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here to read the news for us this morning. I'm sure we have a full plate of news, so I'm going to get out of the way and go listen on Cypress Street. But thank you again for reading the news.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. I'm Susan Richard, and here we go. 2020 Legislature Special Session. Proposal suspending enforcement of virus rules advances, by Sam Carlin, staff writer. As negotiations over how much power the Louisiana legislature wants over Governor John Bel Edwards' coronavirus restrictions were set to begin in earnest, a measure to take away the ability of the state fire marshal to enforce those rules began moving through the state capitol on Monday. House Concurrent Resolution 13, sponsored by Representative Blake Miguez, Republican of Aries, and backed by Attorney General Jeff Landry's office, would suspend for more than 2 months the enforcement powers of Fire Marshal Butch Browning's office on COVID-19 rules. The effort represents a small part of a broader effort by Republican lawmakers to undercut the Democratic governor's coronavirus restrictions in a special session that will end later this month. The key plank of that effort, legislation to give lawmakers authority or at least oversight over Edwards' rules, is still unresolved as Republicans negotiate among themselves. Senate President Paige Cortez, a Republican of Lafayette, said the negotiations will begin tomorrow as he decides whether to accept House amendments to his Senate Bill 29 to give lawmakers an oversight role, but not an up-to-date vote over the governor's decisions. Cortez said he still has the same concerns about the proposals advanced by some House Republicans to give the legislature the ability to end Edwards' restrictions, describing it as a separation of powers issue. He also said he's discussed the issue with Edwards' administration. There's clearly a movement in the legislature to have a seat at the table, and I think they understand that now, Cortez said of the governor's office. To the extent it doesn't cross over the separation of powers, I think that's their concern. In the House, meanwhile, lawmakers continue to advance legislation that would strip the Edwards administration of its powers. The House Commerce Committee advanced Miguez's legislation on a 12-5 vote, and it now heads to the full House. I would need Senate approval, but not approval of the governor to take effect. The resolution by itself wouldn't have a huge effect on the coronavirus restrictions, but is part of a multi-pronged effort by Miguez to take the teeth out of the Edwards administration's rules. The fire marshal's office has taken a largely hands-off approach to enforcement, giving businesses multiple opportunities to come into compliance with the rules before any enforcement action. And the agency said it has not issued any penalties to businesses. Instead, the State Office of Alcohol and Tobacco Control or the Louisiana Department of Health are the entities that issue penalties, which can range from suspension of alcohol licenses to orders to close. Other proposals by Miguez to take away enforcement from the ATC and the health department are slated for hearings in other committees, Miguez said. He also said that while the fire marshal's office doesn't ultimately issue the penalties, Browning's office does have influence over businesses, issuing warnings and other directives in the three-strike system. Miguez, who chairs the House GOP delegation, said he doesn't believe the governor can delegate his powers to the fire marshal's office, which has gone on thousands of visits to businesses to check if they are following the state mask mandate for customers and employees, social distancing, and other rules. He also said he doesn't believe the state should have any coronavirus restrictions in place mandating businesses to follow health guidelines. Instead of mandates, the government should trust its citizens to exercise personal responsibility to keep themselves safe, Miguez said. 2 federal judges and 1 state district judge have already ruled that Edwards' coronavirus rules are constitutional. In Livingston Parish, a judge ordered Firehouse Barbecue to temporarily close while awaiting a hearing on its refusal to follow health rules issued by Edwards. But the restaurant ignored that judge's order, and a judge subsequently issued a temporary injunction barring the Edwards administration from taking any further enforcement action. Democrats on the committee argued the courts have ruled on the constitutionality of the bar closure and other rules. This whole thing has become political, and I think it's unfortunate, said Representative Royce Duplessis, a Democrat of New Orleans. If the governor's actions are illegal, show me a judge to rule as such. We're spending taxpayer dollars to come in here, and we're not getting anywhere. Miguez said he believes a federal appeals court will eventually rule in favor of bar owners who sued Edwards and lost in federal district court over the order closing them down. A hearing is scheduled on that case on November 3rd, according to Jimmy Faircloth, the lawyer representing the plaintiffs. The debate comes as negotiations continue between Republican lawmakers in the House and Senate over a broad effort to loosen the state's coronavirus restrictions further and potentially to kneecap the Democratic governor's ability to issue restrictions at all. Miguez said conversations on that front were ongoing to see what the final legislation would look like. So far, the House has advanced a host of measures that would give lawmakers the ability to strip out parts of Edwards' executive orders, require legislative approval of such orders, and even to cancel the public health emergency entirely. But Cortez said he's still not comfortable with legislation that would go that far, expressing concern that future emergency orders on things like hurricanes could be hamstrung. Well, my goodness. All right, moving on to the election 2020, Louisiana's rising red tide. Evangeline Parish once elected Democrats, but now exemplifies why Trump is likely to win big in the state. By Tyler Bridges, staff writer. Ville Platte. Charles Guillory didn't quite know what to expect when he walked into the Bayou Chico grocery store during his long shot 2019 campaign to be elected sheriff of Evangeline Parish. A group of 15 farmers, retirees, and small business owners were gathered there as usual that morning in 2019. Guillory, a retired state parole officer and political novice, grabbed a cup of coffee and immediately faced a question. Who did you vote for in the 2016 presidential election? Donald Trump, Guillory replied. Another question. What political party do you belong to? The Republican Party, Guillory answered. Good, the man said. Then you've got the vote of everyone in here, he added, even though 10 of the 15 men gathered were registered Democrats. In November of 2019, Guillory became the first Republican in recent memory to be elected as sheriff of Evangeline Parish just north of Lafayette. His election was part of a continuing sweep by Republicans in small towns and rural parishes throughout Louisiana that until recently elected only Democrats. What's happened is that rural whites have increasingly abandoned the Democratic Party, even if they haven't changed their registration. Many say they can't support a party that favors abortion rights, gun control, gay rights, and more government aid to the poor. The transformation explains why President Donald Trump is heavily favored to win Louisiana's 7 electoral votes on November 3rd for the second time. Take a baby's life is not your right. It should not be allowed, said Kirk Fontenot, a tire salesman who meets a group of men every morning to discuss politics, the weather, and other topics at a Conoco gas station in the community of Vidrine, just west of Ville Platte. Democrats want to give everything to those who have nothing to take and take everything from those who do have, chimed Wayne Swallow, a retired federal prison guard. But even as small town and rural white voters flock to him, Trump appears likely to win Louisiana by less than his 20-point margin in 2016 because of a weaker, countervailing trend. He has been alienating Republican-oriented, college-educated women in suburban parishes, said pollster John Couvillon, who closely studies the state's demographic and voting trends. The thing helping Trump in the state is that he has overwhelming support from white males, Couvillon said. Black people now constitute a majority of Democrats in Louisiana, and the party is now centered in such cities as New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Monroe, and Lafayette. Party registration figures tell the overall story. The number of white Democrats in Louisiana dropped from 564,209 in September 16 to 466,344 in September of 2020, a decrease of 17%. The number of Black Democrats increased from 713,100 in September of 2016 to 727,711 in September of 2020. Not nearly enough to offset the decrease in white Democrats. Meanwhile, the number of white Republicans increased from 815,778 in September of 2016 to 924,187 in September of 2020, a jump of 13%. Republicans gained a majority in the Louisiana legislature in 2011 for the first time since Reconstruction. They have strengthened their hand substantially since then, falling just short of 2/3 supermajority in both houses. Republicans now hold 68 of the 105 House seats and 27 of the 39 Senate seats. Governor John Bel Edwards is the only statewide Democrat and has been since he took office in 2015. Senate District 28, which includes all of Evangeline Parish, is emblematic of the rising red tide in Louisiana. It's a mostly rural parish that includes the faded towns of Ville Platte, Marksville, and Eunice. Agriculture continues to thrive. However, some weird punctuation, guys, I'm sorry. Farmers raise rice, crawfish, cattle, and soybeans. The southern part of the district is Catholic, while the northern area is Protestant. Interstate 49 bisects the district. Eric Lafleur, a French-speaking Democrat from Ville Platte, captured the Senate seat in 2007 and won re-election handily in 2011 and 2015. In 2019, term limits forced Lafleur's retirement. 2 House Democrats, each facing term limits after 12 years in the lower chamber, decided to run for Lafleur's seat. Robert Johnson, a lawyer from Marksville, and Bernard Labas, a pharmacist from Ville Platte. Heather Cloud, a trucking company owner with her husband, and the mayor of Turkey Creek in Evangeline Parish jumped into the race. The Louisiana Committee for a Conservative Majority, a political organization headed by Attorney General Jeff Landry and U.S. Senator John Kennedy, hammered Johnson with direct mails, attacks that accused him of opposing measures that would lower car insurance rates. Johnson labeled them false and misleading. Labat has strong family roots in Ville Platte, the parish seat. His father served as the town's mayor from 1947 to 55, and his family has operated a local drugstore for a century. But as Labat campaigned for the Senate seat, he said people would ask, "Are you a Democrat? I'd say yes. They'd say, sorry, I can't help you. I had not heard that kind of thing before. Cloud crushed Johnson and Limbaugh in the primary, winning 63% of the vote. That was an impressive feat, Couvillon said. A decade ago, she might have made the runoff and no more. To make matters worse for Democrats, Republicans Rhonda Butler and Darrell Desautel, respectfully, captured the seats that Limbaugh and Johnson had each held for 12 years. Democrats also lost a third House seat in Senate District 28. It had been held by State Representative Dorothy Sue Hill of Dry Creek. DeWitt Carrier now occupies the seat. Edwards carried only 40% of the Senate District 28 while winning the governor's race with 51% of the vote overall. Another political domino fell in Evangeline Parish when Chris Guillory was elected assessor and became the first Republican to ever hold parish-wide office. Charles Guillory, no relation, won the sheriff's election a month later, defeating the parish's outgoing 5-term assessor, a Democrat. Republicans are strong for the Second Amendment. They believe in God and in the flag, the new sheriff said. Do Democrats represent that? No. With a Republican wind blowing, 3 elected Democrats up for re-election in 2020 in Evangeline Parish then became Republicans. District Attorney Trent Brignac and District Court Judges Gary Ortego and Chuck West. None of them responded to an interview request. Democrats do have a silver lining in Louisiana, one that's a local echo of a key development in the 2018 national midterm elections, which allowed Democrats to win back the House, namely that many college-educated, Republican-oriented women rejected Trump. Couvillon believes that development can be seen in places like House District 79, formerly represented by State Representative Julie Stokes, Republican of Kenner. There, Trump's share of the vote in 2016 was 8 percentage points lower than what Mitt Romney, the Republican candidate for 4 years earlier, received in 2012. I think I need a drink of water. I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. Okay, a lot of women have been brought up to believe there needs to be more civility, and we shouldn't be interrupting each other. It makes them uncomfortable, Stokes said, a day after Tuesday night's presidential debate, in which Trump repeatedly talked over former Vice President Joe Biden. Couvillon believes District House 70 in Baton Rouge, which is represented by State Representative Barbara Friedberg and includes many LSU employees, also exemplifies Trump's problem with women. The president barely won the district in 2016, where he also ran 8 percentage points behind Romney's 2012 performance. Couvillon expects Trump to perform no better in those kinds of suburban districts in 2020. Like Stokes, Friedberg is a Republican who notes that many conservative women support the president. But she noted, referring to Trump's performance during the debate, I was really disappointed last night. I think he had an opportunity to articulate his own successes and goals for the future, but he kept interrupting Biden. It's a sort of crudeness that has turned women off. Amid all the political polarization, Chris Guillory, the incoming assessor in Evangeline Parish, still believes that Democrats and Republicans should cross party lines to solve problems. The mindset that we can't work together will hurt our children, Guillory said, noting that he ran with the campaign slogan in English and French, a candidate for everyone. And he said it in French too, but I'm not going to even try to butcher that for you guys. I'm sorry. All righty. So moving on, Delta projected to be a major hurricane, but weakened before landfall. By Mark Schlefstein. Sorry, Mark. Staff writer. Southeast Louisiana could be facing a significant storm surge and rainfall threat from a Category 2 Hurricane Delta, which is forecast to make landfall with 100-mile-per-hour winds between Morgan City and Houma on Friday, according to the National Hurricane Center. If Delta does make landfall along the Gulf Coast, it will break the record for most landfalling storms in a single hurricane season in the continental U.S. The potential landfall had officials with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness on the phone with local emergency managers throughout the day on Monday. A 2 p.m. briefing by the National Weather Service meteorologist likely added to their worries. A key focus of that briefing was showing officials the potential storm surge effects of model Category 2 hurricanes following paths similar to Delta's predicted path. A hurricane's northeast quadrant, which includes the storm's fastest wind speeds, produces the highest surge levels, and the modeling showed possible water levels of greater than 10 feet along the coast between Morgan City and Port Fourchon and at Grand Isle west of the Mississippi River, and similar heights in the outermost marshes of Brenton Sound, the Biloxi Marshes, and the land bridge that connects New Orleans east to Slidell on the river's east side. Parts of the upper Barataria Basin near Lafayette could see water levels between 5 and 8 feet, while the land bridge dividing Lake Pontchartrain from Lake Maurepas showed maximum water levels from those model runs of 8 to 10 feet, including areas north of Interstate 10 in St. John Parish. That map is used as a discussion tool and does not represent the actual surge estimates for Delta. Such estimates won't be available from the Hurricane Center until the storm is 48 to 72 hours from making landfall. But the information provides emergency managers with an idea of what areas might need to be evacuated well in advance of Delta's landfall. Since officials are expected to call for such evacuations as much as 65 hours before landfall to allow officials to take COVID-19 precautions with evacuees. According to current forecasts, 65 hours before landfall would be in the wee hours of Wednesday morning. On Monday, Delta spun up quickly from a barely organized tropical storm to a storm with top winds of 70 miles per hour at 4 p.m., according to senior hurricane specialist Daniel Brown. It reached hurricane status just after 6:30 p.m. with sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. In a 4 p.m. forecast discussion message, Brown said Delta's thunderstorms had almost completely surrounded its center in banding features, and its minimum pressure was dropping rapidly, 2 signs of rapid intensification. The official forecast calls for Delta to become a hurricane overnight and reach Category 3 strength with top winds of 120 miles per hour by 2 a.m. Wednesday, when it will be approaching Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. It is expected to maintain those intense winds through at least 2 a.m. Thursday, when it will be in the central Gulf of Mexico. After that, the storm is expected to be hit with high-level wind shear from an approaching trough of low pressure that will be dragging it north and east towards Louisiana. The forecast called for winds to drop from 110 miles per hour by 2 p.m. Thursday and then to 100 miles per hour at landfall on Friday afternoon. The forecast path calls for the storm to cut northeast across southeast Louisiana, with its eye keeping just west of Lake Pontchartrain and Maurepas, and to reach east central Mississippi by 2 p.m. on Saturday, with winds reduced to 60 miles per hour, tropical storm strength. In their briefing of emergency managers, National Weather Service meteorologists also warned of significant rainfall in areas on the storm's east side, with rainfall totaling as much as 4 inches in Houma and Baton Rouge, 6 inches in New Orleans and Covington, and 8 inches in Gulfport, Mississippi. Most of the rain will fall Thursday through Friday night. Forecasters warn that as has occurred with several tropical storms and hurricanes in this busy hurricane season, there remains a good chance that Delta's forecast path could change in the 4 days before landfall, and its center could hit the coast either east or west of Monday's prediction. Meanwhile, the National Hurricane Center said Gamma has weakened into a tropical depression and is expected to become a remnant low hit by strong southerly wind shear and infiltrated by relatively dry air that should block any regeneration before the system approaches the northwestern Yucatan Peninsula on Tuesday. Delta's rapid intensification on Monday was another reminder that the 2020 Atlantic Basin hurricane season is on track to rival 2005, the year of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, as the most active year. That year, there were 28 named storms, ending with Zeta, which formed on December 30th, nearly a month after the season's end, and didn't dissipate until January 6, 2006. Delta is this year's 26th named storm. On September 14th of this year, the National Hurricane Center issued advisories on 5 named storms: Paulette, Renee, Sally, Teddy, and Vicky, the most on one day since the record was set in September of 1971. When Beta made landfall on the Texas coast on September 21st, it tied the record of 9 for most named storms making landfall on the North American continent, which was set in 1916. On September 18th, the National Hurricane Center named 3 storms, Wilfred, Alpha, and Beta, on the same day, tying a record set on August 15th, 1893. NOAA's August seasonal forecast update warned that its estimate of 25 named storms was the most predicted in its 22-year seasonal outlook history. When Delta reaches hurricane strength, it will become the 9th hurricane this year, and if it does rapidly intensify as predicted, it would become the 3rd major hurricane, Category 3 or above this year. The other 2 were Laura, which had top winds of 150 miles per hour, just under Category 5 strength when it made landfall in Cameron Parish on August 27th, and Teddy, which had top speeds of 140 miles per hour, Category 4 strength, on September 17th in the central Atlantic Ocean. This year's Atlantic tropical storms have caused at least $24.2 billion in damage so far, based on data gathered by Wikipedia from insurance sources. The greatest damage was caused by Laura, with initial estimates of more than $10 billion, with the bulk of the damage occurring in Louisiana and other U.S. locations, Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, and on several Caribbean islands. Ooh, goodness, y'all. Tongue-tied. Oh, yeah. Well, it's 9:27, so we're going to move on to our Today in History, Zodiacs, and our death announcements. Let's see. So Today in History by the Associated Press. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, the 280th day of 2020. There are 86 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on October 6th of 1973, war erupted in the Middle East as Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel during the Yom Kippur holiday. Israel, initially caught off guard, managed to push back the Arab forces before a ceasefire finally took hold in the nearly 3-week conflict. On this date in 1884, the Naval War College was established in Newport, Rhode Island. In 1927, the era of talking pictures arrived with the opening of The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson, a feature containing both silent and sound synchronized sequences. In 1939, in a speech to Reichstag, German Chancellor Adolf Hitler spoke of his plans to reorder the ethnic layout of Europe, a plan to which entails settling the Jewish problem. In 1949, President Harry S. Truman signed the Mutual Defense Assistance Act, providing $1.3 billion in military aid to NATO countries. In 1976, President Gerald Ford, in his second presidential debate with Democrat Jimmy Carter, asserted there was no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe. Ford later conceded such was not the case. In 1979, Pope John Paul II, on a week-long U.S. tour, became the first pontiff to visit the White House, where he was received by President Jimmy Carter. In 1981, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat was shot to death by extremists while reviewing a military parade. In 2004, the top U.S. arms inspector in Iraq, James Dufleur, reported finding no evidence Saddam Hussein's regime had produced weapons of mass destruction after 1991. In 2014, the Supreme Court unexpectedly cleared the way for a dramatic expansion of gay marriage in the United States as it rejected appeals from 5 states seeking to preserve their bans, effectively making such marriages legal in 30 states. 10 years ago, a presidential commission said the Obama administration had blocked efforts by government scientists to tell the American public just how bad the Gulf oil spill could become and committed their missteps that raised questions about its competence and candor during crisis. Social networking app Instagram was launched by Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger. 5 years ago, General John F. Campbell, the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan, recommended before Congress that President Barack Obama, revive his plan to cut the current U.S. force of 9,800 and keep more than 1,000 U.S. troops in the country beyond 2016. 1 year ago, the White House said U.S. forces in northeast Syria would move aside and clear out the way for an unexpected Turkish assault, essentially abandoning Kurdish fighters who'd fought alongside American forces against Islamic State militants. Turkey would launch the assault days later. The FBI said California prison inmate Samuel Little, who claimed to have killed more than 90 women across the country, was considered to be the deadliest serial killer in U.S. history, and that all of his confessions appeared to be credible. Good Lord, y'all. That's crazy, huh? Okay, today's birthdays. Broadcaster and writer Melvin Bragg is 81. Actor Britt Eklund is 78. Former leader Sinn Féin, Sinn Féin, I don't know what Sinn Féin is, but Jerry Adams is 72. Singer-musician Thomas McClary is 71. Musician Sid McGuinness is 71. Rock singer Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon is 69. Rock singer-musician David Hidalgo of Los Lobos is 66. Pro Hall of Famer Tony Dungy is 65. Actor Elizabeth Shue is 57. Singer Matthew Sweet is 56. Actor Jacqueline Abrados is 54. Country singer Tim Rushlow is 54. Rock musician Tommy Stinson is 54. Actor Amy Jo Johnson is 50. Actor Emily Mortimer is 49. Actor Lamon Rucker is 49. Actor Ian Gruffud is 47. Actor Jeremy Sisto is 46. Brett Gelman is 44. Rhythm and blues singer Melinda Doolittle is 43. Actor Wes Ramsey is 43. And actor Karima Westbrook is 42. All right, guys. So let's see. Moving on to awesomeness. Let's see what we got going on here. All right. Today, in the Acadiana area, being laid to rest, we have Gilbert Breaux at St. Elizabeth Seton Catholic Church in Lafayette at 1 p.m., John Corville at Melanson Funeral Home. All right, and we're moving on to our zodiac. Happy birthday, Libras. So here we go. Libra, September 23rd through October 23rd. Uncertainty at home will change the way you live. Address shared expenses to maintain equality. Pulling your weight will affect how others treat you. Scorpio, October 24th through November 22nd. Extravagant spending will lead to trouble. A change regarding how you take care of your responsibilities will affect your income. Be proactive and flexible for optimum efficiency. Sagittarius, November 23rd through December 21st. An emotional situation will result if someone challenges your beliefs and values. Listen carefully, but don't reveal your opinion. It's best to keep the peace and go about your business. Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. A change will upset someone, but it will be ultimately beneficial. Offer compensation for what someone has to give up so you can get your way. Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th. Take care of your home, family, and yourself. Rest, proper diet, and exercise will help you stay healthy. Do your own thing and focus on self-improvement. You hear that, Aquarius? Y'all better take care of yourselves. Pisces, February 20th through March 20th. Make changes that suit your needs and help you protect your position, reputation, and financial security. Money or a gift is heading your way. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. Consider what you've been doing to earn your keep and how you can adjust your daily routine to suit your needs. Striving for a healthier, happier lifestyle will bring you closer to someone who shares your values. Taurus, safe socializing will be, April 20th through May 20th. Safe socializing will be a must if you want to maintain good health. Physical improvements will lift your spirits. Romance is in the stars and will lead to talks about intentions and long-term plans. Gemini, May 21st through June 20th. Avoid getting into a standoff with a loved one. Listen to others and look for solutions that will not jeopardize a meaningful relationship or your integrity. Channel your energy into creative ideas. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Don't react irrationally to something you cannot change. Look for the positive in every situation you face, and you'll come up with a workable solution that will encourage you to be your best. Leos, June 23rd through August 22nd. Calm down, stay focused, and avoid emotional confrontations. Don't feel that you must get involved in other people's melodramas. Consider what's best for you and how to use your skills to get ahead. All right, shout out Virgos, September. Okay, I'm a Virgo, yay. August 23rd to September 22nd. Put emotional matters aside and focus on whatever brings the best return. Find a unique way to use your skills to improve your personal and professional lives. Romance will encourage a positive lifestyle change. All right, Virgos in love. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, so we're going to go back into our news. Here we go. Catholic Charities helping Lake Charles. Lafayette Group delivers supplies to aid recovery. By Ken Stickney of Staff Writer. It takes barely an hour to travel between Catholic Charities organizations in Lake Charles and Lafayette. That's a trek Lafayette staff and volunteers take most days to deliver goods and supplies needed to Calcasieu, Cameron, and Beauregard parishes hard hit August 27th by Hurricane Laura, which landed with 150-mile-per-hour winds and left ruin in its wake. Last week alone, the Lafayette office made 10 trips to Lake Charles to deliver supplies and goods to help the recovery. Ben Broussard, spokesman for Catholic Charities of Acadiana, said that agency has collected for delivery to Lake Charles some $91,000 in donated goods. Half of those goods came by way of an Amazon wish list employed for the first time in 2018 and used for the first time during a significant disaster following Hurricane Laura. The list includes heavy-duty tarps, cleaners, sanitizers, hammers, scrapers, blade kits, ladders, chainsaws, and more. It's all the things we need to do the job of recovery, Broussard said. Amazon ships supplies to Catholic Charities storage area at United Way of Acadiana, and staff and volunteers handle the rest. Or, Broussard said, if Acadiana people prefer to purchase supplies off the list locally, they can do so and deliver them to the warehouse at prearranged times. Cash works too. Contact Sarah Baquet, Community Engagement Coordinator at Sarah B, that's SARAHB, at CatholicCharitiesAcadiana.org. Broussard said Catholic Charities tried the Amazon supply wish list for the first time in January of 2018. We had 3 days of ice storms, 18 degrees and raining, he said. School was out and we had to open our shelter in an emergency sense. He said people who were safely in their own homes wanted to help the homeless, but couldn't necessarily get out to shop. So the wish list was employed for the first time and reaped immediate results. We did an Amazon list of essential things we needed at the men's shelter, he said. A day later, 5 or 6 trucks filled with supplies showed up at our door. Hurricane Laura relief has presented the first chance to seek goods and supplies for a major natural disaster. Broussard said the Catholic Charities of Lake Charles has a storage facility of its own, but it's not large enough to handle the supplies that were coming in. So Catholic Charities in Lafayette is holding some donated goods until their Lake Charles counterparts can distribute recovery materials and make room for more shipments. Sister Miriam McLean of Catholic Charities in Lake Charles said her staff has been distributing food and building supplies and more as quickly as they can. That includes 4,000 hot meals, 50,000 meals, and some 40,000 hotel vouchers, in addition to building supplies. She said supplies started arriving on August 28th, the day after the storm hit, but because it took so long to get electricity restored, Catholic Charities couldn't accept foods that needed to be refrigerated. Nonetheless, she said, they've delivered some 470 pallets of donated supplies in the greater Lake Charles community. Most homes have had their power restored. She said much help has come from Acadiana and from Houston and Beaumont, Texas. Lots of help has come too from New Orleans and the Houma area, and even from so far as the Carolinas. People there, she said, understand the damage that hurricanes can do and how much help is necessary. We are grateful for any and all help we can get, she said. She said Lafayette Bishop Douglas Desitel delivered a $155,000 check to Bishop Glenn John Provost on Monday, representing donations collected at recent masses in the Louisiana diocese. She said more help is needed, but the generosity of others has been beautiful for me to see. In 2016, floods and Hurricane Harvey in 2017 both caused significant damage in southwestern Louisiana. It took up to 3 years to fully recover. But the damage from those storms was small compared to this. She said the recovery from Laura will take many years, perhaps as many as 5 years, before there's some degree of normal restored to that part of the state. Broussard said donations are slowing, though, as people's attention is diverted to other news and more recent emergencies. That's to be expected, he said. Donations are slowing down, but the need remains. Downtown Digs, the grocery tavern and delicatessen to open on October 24 in Lafayette by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. Joshua Wells opted to step back a bit on his plans to open the grocery tavern and delicatessen in downtown Lafayette this spring when the coronavirus pandemic arrived. He had a goal of opening for Festival International in April, but instead the former co-owner of the Worst Beer Garden pushed back plans to open and slowed down the construction process, often having just one contractor on site at a time. Now, with restaurants allowed to operate at a higher capacity than in the spring, he plans to open the deli at 802 Jefferson Street on October 24th. We purposely took a step back and decided to slow things down, he said. It slowed things down on the end of the building dramatically, but it actually was not bad for us. We were able to step back and fine-tune some things. I felt much worse for a lot of my friends who are business owners who had already opened or just opened. Wells will operate the 1,900 square foot deli style sandwich shop in a shotgun style space in the first floor of the Juliet Hotel building and will offer sandwiches along with cured meats, cheeses, and breads. The lunch menu will include items such as pastrami on rye, Reuben, Italian sandwiches, Cuban sandwiches, and Italian plates, he said. Robert Brankline will be the chef. Wells said he also likes the location on that end of Jefferson Street, which is turning into more of a spot for older crowds. With the handful of restaurants there now, it is turning into a food destination of sorts, he said, and the 68 residential units planned for the old federal courthouse nearby could lead to more development. It's definitely less late night there and more of an older crowd, which we enjoy, he said. We'll be one of the spots open late too. The foot traffic is definitely picking up. It's making us feel good with the plans to have more living spaces downtown. The more people we have down here, the more diverse businesses we can have. All right. Holy Rosary Redevelopment Board names Executive Director, Staff Report. Corey Jack has been named the first Executive Director of Holy Rosary Institute, according to the statement from Dustin Cravens, President of the Holy Rosary Redevelopment Board, the nonprofit devoted to restoring the historic three-story building. Jack is charged with building and executing a long-term plan to restore the historic site. He assumed the role September 1st. I am thrilled to take the role of Executive Director of Holy Rosary Institute, one of the most prominent African American institutions in the region, Jack said. I look forward to working with the board to maximize the catalytic potential of this project and further solidify its future potential as an educational and cultural anchor for surrounding communities. Jack most recently served as the manager of Chamber Affairs for One Acadiana, where he was responsible for the organization's urban revitalization and development efforts, including working on development projects, incentive and zoning research and application, and building relationships with elected officials, city leadership, and regional stakeholders. Corey brings several years of project management, development, and strategic planning experience, which will be vital in moving the redevelopment efforts of the historic site forward, Craven said. Holy Rosary has a deep legacy, not only in Lafayette, but nationally, and the redevelopment of the site will recommit the building to the founder's mission of making Holy Rosary a center for education, economic, health, social, cultural, and spiritual development. Holy Rosary opened in 1913 in Lafayette as an industrial school for Black women and began accepting male students in 1947. Its doors closed in 1993 because the building was in significant disrepair. Throughout its 107-year history, the Institute was primarily run by the Sisters of the Holy Family, the second oldest order of Black nuns in the United States. The Holy Rosary Redevelopment Board is working with Lafayette Public Trust Financing Authority on redevelopment of the Institute, which is listed as an endangered historic site by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The project recently obtained more than $5 million in funding from both federal and state programs. All right. Crime blotter. Here we go. We're going with some crime. Advocate state staff reports. Man broke into Crowley home, attacked victim with machete, police say. Oh my goodness. A man was arrested Monday morning after deputies say he broke into the home of his estranged girlfriend and attacked a person with a machete, KATC TV reports. Tyler Foreman, 28, was arrested after deputies responded to a call of a home invasion at the 500 block of Stute Street in Crowley around 4:20 a.m. Sunday. Upon arrival on the scene, deputies with the Acadia Parish Sheriff's Office found Foreman being restrained on the ground by one of the victims. Deputies say there was blood all over the house that was coming from a victim's wrist. Deputies said Foreman went to the residence of his estranged girlfriend where the victim was a visitor. He allegedly gained entry into the home using the blunt end of the machete. After getting inside the residence, deputies said Foreman then allegedly turned the machete on the victim, cutting a large section of flesh from the victim's wrist. A witness account reportedly states that Foreman began to bludgeon the victim with the machete, attempting to hit him in the head. The victim was transported to a local hospital. Foreman was booked into the Acadia Parish Jail on felony violation of a protective order, home invasion, and attempted first-degree murder. His bail was set at $700,000. Next story. Groups exchanged early morning gunfire. Two groups exchanged gunfire early Monday morning, resulting in several arrests, according to a statement from the Lafayette Police Department. Lafayette Police responded to a call about shots fired about 1 a.m. Monday in the 100 block of West Folk Street, according to the statement from Police Department spokesman Wayne Griffin. Officers found several spent casings on the roadway and learned that a victim had been transported to a local hospital prior to their arrival. The investigation revealed that a group of individuals arrived at the location and began shooting at a second group already there. The second group returned gunfire, and the first group of individuals drove away. Investigators arrested Daniel Davis IV, 20, of Lafayette on 5 counts of attempted second-degree murder. 2 juveniles were also arrested. One was arrested on 3 counts of attempted second-degree murder and possession of a stolen firearm. The second juvenile was arrested for accessory after the fact. Both juveniles were booked into the Lafayette Juvenile Detention Center. Man in custody after overnight shooting. One person is in the hospital following an overnight shooting in Lafayette, according to the Lafayette Police Department. Police say they were called to the Plantation Inn on the 2800 block of Northeast Evangeline Thruway around 11 p.m. on Sunday. Officers learned that a female victim had been transported to a local hospital by the suspect after suffering a gunshot wound to the upper torso. The incident began with a verbal altercation between the victim and suspect, according to a police department statement. It turned violent when the suspect produced a weapon and shot the victim. The victim is in stable condition. The suspect, Corey Etienne, a 34-year-old from Lafayette, was arrested and booked at Lafayette Parish Correctional Center on 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm. All right, goodness gracious. All right, so we have a couple of PSAs before we have to jump off of here, okay? The Shared Mobility Device Management Committee, established by Ordinance Number J0712020 in July of 2020, is hosting a meeting this Wednesday, October 7th at 2 p.m. at the Rosa Parks Transportation Center in downtown Lafayette to discuss geofencing locations as well as other rules and regulations for the operation of bike share and electric scooters within the city and parish of Lafayette. Those interested in attending are welcome, but please note that due to COVID-19 guidelines, the capacity of the meeting will be limited to 40 people. Viewers will be able to access the meeting via Ustream, the same system used for council meetings, on LCG's website at lafayette.la.gov. However, viewers using Ustream will not be able to interact with the meeting. If you have any feedback, send us a note at info@downtownlafayette.org. Requests for mosquito control now available through Lafayette 311. Lafayette Consolidated Government, LCG, is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish following Hurricane Laura. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx in mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request services. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. All right. Festival of Words Student Creative Writing Contest. All Acadiana area students in grades 3 through 12 who attend public schools, private schools, charter schools, and home schools can submit. The win is final deadline for online submissions via email is Friday, October 23rd by 11:55 p.m. The students in these grades 3 through 12 from across the Acadiana area are invited to participate in a writing contest sponsored by the National Writing Project of Acadiana and the Festival of Words. Students can enter their original writing pieces in 3 writing categories, including poetry, fiction, and creative nonfiction. Writing should be submitted through a supervising teacher or school facilitator online by sending them to hmkramer, Kramer, @louisiana.edu. Parent guardian permission must be granted by filling out the student writing entry form. The supervising teacher or school facilitator should submit these forms electronically by the submission deadline as well. Awards will be given for first, second, and third place winners. Contest winners will also receive an anthology publication of winning entries. Please feel free to contact Dr. H. Michelle Kramer, writing competition coordinator for Festival of Words Student Creative Writing Contest, if you have any questions. Happy writing. Healing House is seeking support group volunteers. They're going to have an upcoming training Friday, October 23rd from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and Saturday, October 24th from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Volunteers are required to attend both days of this training. Let's see, you can reach out for the application at healing-house.org/ways-to-give/volunteer, or you can call 337-234-0443 or email kim@healinghouse.org. All right, so I think that is all for me for today on my PSAs. I'm just gonna, I think Matt will be coming in just a moment to, or we could just keep going. We could just keep reading. Okay,
you're so good. Thank you so much for reading the news this morning.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thanks again, and thanks for tuning in to Local News Live, and we will see you again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.